Here we are. It's on-air streaming with Lady Lamb, also known as Lady Lamb and the Beekeeper, also known as Ali Spaltro. Do you find that people are confused when they try to address you in person? Do you see them stumbling?
Some people ask me if I go by Ali or not. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I go by Ali. You don't have to call me Lady Lamb.
That's awkward if somebody says
that's weird.
Miss Lamb.
Yeah, no, that's not.
But
okay.
They do that, I'm sure, right?
No, I think they catch themselves.
And as I noticed, as you're out and active this year with the new record, more people are just saying Lady Lamb. Is the Beekeeper thing been dropped?
Oh yeah,
for the most part. Okay.
I officially dropped it.
Okay, what was the decision behind that?
Well, I came up with the name when I was 18, which is going on 8 years ago. I just felt like over time I was less and less attached to that.
Yeah.
It felt really clunky and just in the past. And fortunately, I feel connected to Lady Lamb as a moniker, and so I just spliced the back half off.
And now you've answered part of my next question, saying you came up with that when you were 18, because as I was reading about you and watching old clips, and even from 4 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like she's 15 years old.
Yeah.
And now as I meet you in person all these years later, I'm like, well, she looks like she's 13 years old.
What?
You look like, my daughter is 13. I was like, this young lady could be running around with my daughter and her friends.
Oh my God.
So you answered the question of how old you are now, but are you much older and wiser now that you've been doing this for 8 years?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. What's the biggest difference between now and when you were 18 years old?
I don't know. There's just much more clarity. I've been managing myself for almost 5 years now, and so I just kind of know what's going on at all times and feel like, I can make business decisions and that kind of thing. Whereas, when I was first starting out, I had no idea what I was really doing. And the music, of course, has evolved over time, for sure, thematically as I've gotten older.
Okay. Tell us about that evolution. I've heard some references that you've made, that being more pop and doing that kind of thing. What else has evolved the most?
Well, thematically, it's much different. I think this record is this second album. It's more about myself. It's more about things that I've experienced or things I think about, whereas my last work was more about what I felt I needed from others. And so looking back, in retrospect, I feel like it was not about me at all. And so this one is a different kind of vulnerable. It's also a little more concise musically. It's hard for me to write a chorus, which is why I wanted to put a few in this record, because it's a challenge for me to do.
Why is it hard for you?
Because my instinct with writing music is to write a piece that kind of meanders and has many movements and tempo changes within it that never addresses any repetition at all and just kind of goes on its own route. And I love writing songs like that, and there's still that on this album, but I think it's actually really difficult to edit down a song and make it a direct piece.
Is that part of wanting to do more of a pop song? Does that come from, and if so, does that come from you, or is this outside people saying, look, Ali, we gotta, you gotta write a chorus, you gotta write a hook. You can't just be wandering around like this.
No, it's 100% from me, 100%. No,
okay.
No one has ever told me how to write a song. God forbid if they did, they'd hear it.
Really?
They'd get a mouthful.
And from older interviews with you, there's reference to you being self-taught with your music, and you play a lot of instruments. Are you still self-taught with everything, or do you feel like, I need some real professional coaching because I'm 8 years in, I'm doing this? Or is it still self-taught?
Still self-taught.
Really?
And, I have a grasp on what I'm doing, I think, musically, even though I don't read music. I feel like it would take learning how to read music or taking lessons would take some of the romanticism out of what I'm doing, and I don't feel the need. I think the way that I write comes from an emotional place, so sometimes I may not know what chord I'm playing. Like, I know major chords, but if I'm making some sort of odd shape or formation, I may not really know what that means, but if it sounds good, then I run with it.
What's your tool for being self-taught? Is it playing around? Is it just Is it sitting down with other musicians? Is it watching things happen and trying to replicate it? Or is it just the sound of it?
In all honesty, the way I taught myself was just by getting a chord book and learning first 2 chords, then writing a song with 2 chords, then 3, and adding in the 3rd chord into a new song, and learning that way, just building from learning chord formations. Didn't really look at tutorials or anything. I just learned what the shapes were and then just immediately started writing my own music.
You're not going to just give credit to YouTube videos that taught you everything?
No.
You know, you're from Maine, and you trudged all the way from Maine to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself departing from the Northeast of America?
I think about that, you know, like what city would I move to that's out of New England or out of New York? I think I would go back to Portland, Maine eventually. I'm not sure how far west I'd want to go. I don't really want to be super far from family. They're all in the Northeast, but yeah, I'm not planning on staying in New York forever. I don't love it there. I like it there, but it's more of a utility, you know, like it's so convenient to be there, and like without a car, I can take the bus anywhere, you know, I need to tour.
Not to mention Brooklyn's the mecca of artists now. Are you finding a lot of resources, connections, other artists that you want to work with, collaborate with, or just hang out with?
I've met a lot of friends who are in bands that I love there, and that's a wonderful, you know, outlet. I haven't really collaborated with any friends, but it's just wonderful to be able to go see their show or support them in that way. And both my record labels are there, and I'm friendly with both of them, so it's just nice to be able to pop into the office, or, you know, it's very convenient.
And it's always interesting when you see the real behind-the-scenes work of artists going from city to city, living out of a van, and it's hard. And a brief conversation with you getting from New Orleans to here, it wasn't so pretty, was it?
I've never seen rain like that in my life. It was like biblical rain almost the entire time. And yeah, our fuse for our windshield wipers fell out of its little, you know, whatever, spot. And we lost our windshield wipers, and we're like, oh, off to the side. Things like that happen. It's like you're in the car all day, so it's a little bit, you got to be on your A game driving. You got to be safe.
The not so glamorous side of rock and roll that everyone doesn't see out there in the pouring rain, messing with wipers,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Well, Allie, it was great catching up with you, Lady Lamb. Thank you for coming in.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.